Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of If My Feet Could Talk. So season two's taken off really well, actually. The last episode's gone down a storm, and it was a corker with Pete Drummond. So if you haven't listened to that, I suggest you visit any of the podcast streams, or even go on YouTube. It's available on YouTube now. So in this episode, though, I'll be talking to a very special guest. Some of you may already know him and follow him on various social media accounts. I've known him for about 5 years now. He recently had me on one of his podcasts. So it's right that I got him on mine, although it was more so because he told me he had to, really. In his, only joking. In his last podcast, he asked why I didn't have him on. I'm a big fan of his. Not just he's funny. His Instagram and his social media isn't just boring old running. He gives valuable advice. He really does make people laugh. And he's bloody good at what he does, basically. So it was inevitable I really should talk to him. So here it is. Here's our podcast with Gary House.
Already had this conversation. Are you sure?
Right, afternoon, mate. How you doing?
Good. Thanks, mate.
How's the family? How's the kids?
They're all right at the minute. One's just had a meltdown outside.
Brilliant.
It's all gone quiet, so we're good. Yeah.
Obviously, congratulations to your wife for the Centurion Marathon that she walked, and your daughter for doing a 10K. Followed it, impressed. I loved the spa. I loved the actual spa. It was brilliant. You should incorporate that into your training. You're right. You missed out on that side of things, didn't you? I'm glad all is well. How was your run today? Because I saw you were quite struggling with the heat. It was quite sweaty and warm up there on the Welsh.
Yeah, the clouds have gone now, but yeah, it's a hot day, so it's up 24 degrees or something. But this morning it was all cloud cover. So I live about 300 meters up, which it's not high, but if there's clouds, they're going to be where I am. So yeah, it was just cloudy but sweaty at the same time, and I hate it when it's like that. Yeah.
I don't mind heat. I've run in lots of hot places around the world. And you got the different type. You got the dry heat and you got the humid heat, and they both
humid one, isn't it?
Yeah, I prefer running in humidity than the actual dry heat, because dry heat sucks the air out of your throat a bit. Where humid, it just drains you. But yeah, that's a different thing. Yeah, I saw that. I'm glad your run went all right, mate. That's not a problem.
It was it was just hot. It was hot, sweaty. I don't know if you saw. And then on the steepest part of this climb, it's 30% climb kind of thing. So it's steep. Like hands on knees jobs. So I could run, but I wasn't meant to be running up it. So I'm like hiking up, and then I saw a dead badger that had just been splattered. And I didn't really think anything of it. And I only got the full hit of it as I just passed it. Oh my God. Yeah. And like heat, dead badger, sweaty, flies.
Yeah.
Oh God. So if anyone's listening to this running along, then sorry about
that. Anyway, so in case I've got listeners that haven't heard of who you are, just give us a little bit of history about yourself, who you are and what you do.
I guess I've managed to forge a career out of my running and coaching others, really. Yeah. And it snowballed kind of as we went along, just from having another career and running a bit. And then I kind of got a bit obsessive with the running and making myself better and doing courses and things like this. Then people would come to me for help, and this is before social media and things like this. So I always count myself lucky that I had to go out and look through books, or I had to go and spend time with coaches and things like this. And it's not that learning via the internet is a bad thing. It's just that, I had to go and really physically go and do it. And I had some good results in the longer ones. I did the whole kind of road running, 10Ks, half marathon, marathon, obviously bang average, to be honest. And then I entered an ultra marathon for charity and finished like way up the table compared to what had been. And then my ego starts to take over and think, right, maybe I'm better at this. But in reality, back then, I think it was just because it was probably 70 guys in their 50s to 70s, and I was about 24. So that's why I kind of finished a bit higher. But then I turned that obsessiveness into kind of, I just took it into coaching. But like way back, I was a hairdresser. So that's where it kind of all started. I was hairdressing, and then the running outweighed the hairdressing. So I couldn't do both, to be honest. I couldn't run in the morning, be the hairdresser, and then kind of party afterwards and all that kind of thing, and train. And it was just a conflict in the end.
Yeah.
So I kind of bailed and went into personal training.
So when you were growing up as a kid, right? You're
Yeah.
from Manchester originally, is that right?
No, mate, no. I'm from not far from it, so I'm from North Wales.
So you're from North Wales, but you went to Manchester, didn't you?
I went to Manchester for work.
Yeah. But when you were growing up as a kid, then in North Wales, were you much of a sporty kid? Were you, or what were you like as a child?
It was just like school for me. I know lots of people have bad experiences, but it was school, like high school, was like a social occasion for me. So I was lucky enough to be in what you'd kind of call the cool gang, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was also a bit of a floater, so I was like.
Do you know what? I think your personality, and after speaking with you on your podcast the other day and stuff, you're very much like me. You mentioned you would crack jokes in school, make people laugh. I was known as the gag father in school. Yeah,
Did
because I would do exactly the same. I would make people laugh. There was an occasion where I had a false arm that I would go around, put it on people's shoulders and tap them and make them look, and all that sort of stuff, and make people laugh.
Yeah.
I was in the cool group.
People, that was it. That's kind of all, without knowing it, that's all I was doing. I must have been a nightmare, but I was also one of those annoying people that would find myself in the top sets for things. So I had a brain, but I was also, I was never inherently naughty. I wasn't setting things on fire and breaking things. I was just class clown, I guess.
Yeah.
Like teacher's worst nightmare.
And I think you're like the younger, skinny version with hair of me. I was in the top sets. I was having a laugh. I was part of the cool gang, but I floated around between the grungies and the ravers. I was.
I could easily sit with
all of them. It wasn't.
Call the geeks. I could easily spend my lunchtime with them. I could easily spend my lunchtime, and some of the teachers really loved me. But sport was, for me, that was just a vehicle of getting out of other things. Like it was a football in school really, and we had some really talented players. So that, and I was average, but I got took along with that. So we'd go, like we won multiple Welsh championships and went all over the place. But I was just in part of that team. And then if there was the tennis team, I did all right at tennis. If there was anything that I could have got out of school, including cross country and things like this, hockey, I was at Welsh trials for hockey. I hated hockey, but my teacher thought I had quite a talent for hockey, and that was probably my best sport. But I didn't enjoy it. But I would go to these things because it'd be a day off school. Yeah.
See, I loved hockey. I was not very good at it.
I was hockey. Yeah, hockey and cricket. Weirdly, maybe it was like a hand-eye thing. Hockey and cricket was what I was best at. But obviously, who wants to be a hockey player when all your mates are playing football? So I just fell into football then. But we were typical. During the summers, I remember going down to the local tennis court like 5 a.m, break of dawn, just so you could get on the court, and then we would be there until sundown kind of thing. So it would be just, sport was kind of just the social thing for me, to be honest, and team sports, football especially. That was when I just had the best times, I guess. Yeah.
So you said you went to Manchester to work, and you worked as a hairdresser. Um, did you still keep? Obviously, you found your love of running during that point, but up until that point, were you still playing sports? Were you still running? Were you doing other things?
I only at that point I kind of only played football, so I'd play Saturday league and Sunday league, which you're playing 4 times a week then, like 2 training sessions and 2 matches at the weekend. But then at that age, when I was like 17, 18, 19, 20, you were also going out off the back of it, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
especially our Sunday league team, we would be out on a Saturday night. Like sometimes you'd get home at 7 a.m. and then you'd just go straight to the football pitch, have a nap by the pitch, and you'd be playing it again at 9:30. And it's so I think that's where my talent for ultra running came in, just staying awake for a longer period of time.
Yeah, but probably back then as well was, most of us used other things to help us keep awake,
Yeah, I wouldn't have passed any WADA tests back then. No.
Oh yeah, I fully so you've been a coach for a while now.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of
From
people think I've just done. Like it's funny. A lot of people think I've just been an online coach, but for probably 7 years, I was coaching face to face in groups before I ever took an online client on. And again, I think for me that's important because when you speak to me and I speak to you, I like the conversation. I like seeing someone's face. I like all that kind of side of things. My skill isn't like to know every system and the ideal system under the planet. My skill is like to get the best out of a person, I think. And that comes down to the psychology side, I guess.
So you went from hairdressing to coaching, and you've been a coach for a while. What was that switch that turned you to coaching? Because you had a spell of PT in between, didn't you?
Yeah. What happened was, so I was in Manchester, met a girl that was in Leicester Uni. We both met on a night out in Chester, my friend's birthday party, right? So
good night out, Chester.
Yeah, well, it's only 15 minutes from where I lived at the time, so it's just over the border, isn't it? So meet this girl. She's in Leicester, I'm in Manchester, so we kind of started meeting up a lot more. And then I entered. So when I'd moved to Manchester, it just coincided with the fact that I didn't have any money, didn't have any friends, so I would run down the canals. Sometimes I would just run for hours down the canal because I didn't know my housemates, so it was almost like an avoidance thing. Didn't want to go back into the house because there was 5 different nationalities in there. I was quite young. I was the youngest one. And I'd only decided to go to Manchester and I had 48 hours to find the place as well. So I was thrown into it from a small town in kind of North Wales. So I just ran down the canals because I couldn't afford to go to the gym. Didn't know anyone to play football with. And I just ran and ran and ran, basically, in a pair of Nike Air Max, my football Sunday league shorts. So anytime you see me taking the mick out of those kind of things, it's because I've been through it myself.
Yeah.
And I entered the Leicester half marathon on the back of that with the sole aim of thought, if I enter the Leicester half marathon, obviously Charlotte's in Leicester, I'm going to have to stay over. And that was my thought.
That seems like a perfect way to finish the half marathon.
Yeah. Yeah, I could hardly walk back to the bus stop, mate. So any grand ideas I had went straight down. But that was it. Like we stuck together. We're still we're married, got kids and everything now, and that was 12, 13 years ago. So it was a good thing. I did it to impress her. Didn't impress her at all. But then being Manchester Leicester didn't really work, to be honest. Yeah. Especially young, you kind of long distance kind of thing. So we both moved out of that situation into her mum and dad's, long story short. So I'm in Chester, but in the final kind of 6 months, I was just getting qualified to be a PT because I thought what was happening, I was running down the canals and doing my work and then kind of running again home or whatever. So I was running a lot, but never had a watch or anything. And people in my work were just asking for advice and things like this. And I just thought, and I just jumped into it basically. PTing, yeah.
I just got to pause you a second because I just dropped my paper with questions on, and It's going to look silly if I'm not here to talk to you.
Well,
Hold on. So, we are still recording. That's a good thing. Bloody fucking hell. Anyway.
Yeah, I can't remember what you asked.
But how was your half marathon? How was your half marathon?
Yeah, I ran it in my pair of Nike Air Max, big bubbles on them, things like this. And I just remember like a load of old guys coming past me and thinking, what the hell's going on here? Because I'd come from Sunday League.
Yeah.
Obviously, being a young person beating the old guys week in, week out. When it came to running, they were beating me. And I didn't, at that point, I was like, what the hell's going on here? I mean, I wasn't particularly fit or anything. I think I did it in, I can't even remember the time, but it was Leicester Half Marathon, wasn't big. So it wasn't horrendous, but there was enough people that beat me that made me think I need to get better at this.
So something switch. It flicked the switch inside your head, though.
Yeah, I mean, I just loved the running part of things because, again, like having no community of friends in Manchester at the time, I was just running, to be honest, and running until I hurt so much that I just had to walk back or something, and because my legs couldn't really cope with it at that point. And then, yeah, what was happening was in my work. To give you an idea, I was working at Nicky Clark, and it coincided. I don't know if you remember him. Big.
Yeah. He used to do the celebrity scissors and stuff.
Yeah. So I was really like close to him and everything. And then one weekend, in the News of the World or something, it'll come out that he was a womanizer, cokehead, and all this blah blah blah, and a load of people, and his business just nosedived. So I jumped ship basically and spent the money in getting a PT qualification over a summer, and it was the most useless piece of paper I've ever done, to be honest. And then it doesn't set you up for anything. And then I was straight into the gym. That was it. That summer, actually, to go off on a slight tangent, think of this, right? So I'm a new PT, freshly qualified. Yeah. On the Saturday before I was meant to go into the gym, I ran my first proper big fell race, and it was a Snowdon Marathon, and broke both my elbows before I was meant to work in the gym. So I came flying down, tripped up, landed upside down, handstand position, and then broke both elbows. And that was like the week before I was meant.
But did you get up and like do a shuffle as if you didn't? You meant to do that?
I didn't know I'd broken them, so I finished the race because there was nothing sticking out, and I didn't know until the next morning I'd broken both elbows. I was just in horrendous pain, couldn't move them, couldn't sleep, and then Charlotte took me to the hospital, and the triage nurse was like, "Where have you been?" and that kind of thing. And I said, and I said what had happened, and she said, "What's taking you so long?" I said, "Why?" She was like, "Clinically, you've broken both your arms," kind of thing. So she couldn't get her head around why. She said, "I'll send you for next day, but I'm telling you now, that's what's happened."
Did you have to have like cats?
Just to no, that was it. So they were bringing the doctors were bringing different doctors in and things because I was all right with it, kind of thing. So they said, "Oh, can we bring the other doctors in?" Because they'd never seen it. So they were just figuring out the best way. In the end, they didn't cast them at all. They just put them in 2 slings. Yeah. So for the whole summer, I just had 2 slings basically. It was. So that was my start of my PT career. Imagine if you're in the gym and you know like how it works. Like I was meant to go up to people, start chatting to them to try and get them as a client. Fucking, can you swear on this?
Yeah, crack on.
Yeah. Not that I'm going to make a point of it, but I had 2 slings. It was ridiculous, to be honest. So that's when I kind of thought, like, my mouth is okay because I was still getting clients, but I had 1 arm at one point. And then I just, but it was quite quickly apparent that it was runners that was coming to me. Yeah. And running was my thing. I took my client base.
Is that because you don't look like a PT, as in you? I know it's hard to say. You're not built like a PT. You know, most PTs are guys that are buff. They work out in the gym. You definitely don't look like one of those guys.
There was quite a few PTs in there, and quite quickly there was one guy that was standout, a good PT. I knew because I'd done my training in Manchester, and the guy that was training me and everything was really good, and I already had a load of knowledge anyway, to be honest. Yeah. So when I went into the gym, the one standout guy was a guy who was a pro rugby player, like a semi-pro rugby player, rugby league. And me and him got on quite well, but it worked really well. So I would still be in the weights room kind of side, but as a 9 stone runner, like I had just attracted the runners and the bigger guys or people that wanted to spend the time there would go to
the
him.
rugby guy. Yeah.
And because we kind of worked it well, and we taught each other as well. That's an important thing. Like in PT world, especially now, like when I originally started, there was 4 of us that would coach each other in stuff. I don't see that happening as much now. People don't want to kind of.
I think that's probably because they're scared of maybe losing clients if they give away
maybe.
trade secrets or.
Yeah. But the thing is, like if he knows that he's not the running guy, so why try and be the running guy? You can't just help everyone. And if a guy comes to me that wants to work on rugby,
bodybuilder or rugby,
yeah. And we used to. So that worked really well, to be honest, because we could both see. And even now, like there was probably 12 people on my course. 4 people went into the same gym. He was already there, and I know for a fact there's only me and him that have got business left. The rest of them aren't doing it. So it shows that it's not that you have to be like that, but sharing that. Lunchtime we were on the same courses, sharing knowledge and things like this. And still now we still chat, kind of thing. Yeah.
So moving on from your half marathon, when was your first long distance event, marathon and further?
I entered a race. Yeah, how did it go? I entered a half marathon, then I did Edinburgh Marathon. Because it was just that natural step, isn't it? If you're a runner, you got to do a marathon. So I did the Edinburgh Marathon. Didn't really have a clue what I was doing. I just ran more. I just ran more. I think I did it in like 3 hours 20 minutes or something. Which it's all relative, isn't it? For me, I was massively happy with that at the time, and it was a great day and all that kind of thing. For some people, won't be impressed by that. Some people will never reach 3 hours 20. But it doesn't really matter because your first marathon, it's the first time that you don't chase a time.
Because you don't have a time. It's like a first event of any kind. It's going to be a PB.
The challenge is the marathon.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, so I did that, and then I did I think it was within weeks, I did a 56-mile marathon, ultra marathon, London to Brighton.
Was that your first, was it?
My first ultra marathon, so it was probably my 4th race, but it was just for charity. I like a local animal kind of sanctuary by here, did that because I needed some money. And didn't have a clue what I was doing. It was 56 miles. There's no way I ran 56, but immediately I'd gone from being a nobody in the Edinburgh Marathon to finishing a lot higher in this race. And I honestly didn't have a clue what I was doing. Off the back of that, the same summer, I ran my first 24-hour race again for charity. And then that was the big thing because nobody told me what to do in this 24. It was the second ever Adidas Thunder Run. It was quite a small field. Like it's not like you would imagine now, and I've never been back since. But I remember nobody really told me that you could stop, so we didn't take the tent down or anything. Charlotte just sat in the car and through the night made me a cup of tea. I mean, I was ruined afterwards, but I finished 7th, I think, in the solo category, and it was like 7th place. I've never been near that. So it was all of a sudden I was like, right, I'm an ultra runner because. And again, that's the ego side of things, I guess, but I was just naturally better at that. Granted, there was probably 100 people in that compared to 20,000 in Edinburgh, but I think I ran 94, I did 94 miles. I could have easily gone over the 100-mile mark, but I left it because I didn't want to run 100 miles just because then I knew I would do it again in some weird way. And then I did a bunch of 24 hours and longer ones, to be honest. I fell into the whole kind of, I was learning about human movement, and I was coaching human movement. I was reading all the natural running books and things like this. And it's
Born to Run?
Yeah, I read that.
Read that.
First time I read it, people will tell me, like, I take the piss out of it quite a lot, but it's one of those things. The more you learn, you realise the less that you actually know. Like I was coached by Lee Saxby, who was actually the coach of the guy who wrote it and things like this.
Yeah.
And and when you learn all that stuff, it's like it is a bit of a story. It's a good story. But yeah, I think all those and the Dean Carne's books, reading all them because I was reading all these in my lunch break and things. So I was just fully immersed in the ultra world. And back then, you had to it was like the dark web. There was no Facebook events or things like this. There was no Instagram. It was like you go on this weird forum with a load of old men and figure out how to get to this ultra marathon, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is it's pretty similar now. But
well, you still got that with the Barkley Marathons, haven't you? With lads, it's still that secret way of entering it.
Plus, when I met like you can imagine the kind of stick that I got from the lads because I jumped into hairdressing and I jumped into running, and it's like, but then I could turn up to the lads still and say like I ran 56 miles in an ultra and things like this, and they weren't impressed, but at the same time it would blow their minds, and that gave me a bit more, I guess.
And you get the usual line back, don't you? Oh, I wouldn't even drive that far.
Oh, yeah, and all that kind of thing. Yeah, and banging on about the knees and things like that. Yeah. But it was just going hand in hand. So I was just getting better and better at these longer races.
Yeah.
To be honest, and then I got some coaching and just learned more. And then because I was self-employed, it made it a lot easier. That was the start of everything, really.
So you mentioned you've got your own coach. Instead of just like winging it yourself because you're a coach, do you have your own coach for the accountability side of things? So you've got someone to keep you sort of focused more than like you going, I can't be asked to do this today because I made it up.
So originally I had a bit of coaching by a guy, and it was just mainly, it wasn't a strict plan. It was more, I call it more like mentoring. So he was teaching me movement and things like this. But then I was also applying that into my PT business, yeah? Then when Charlotte got pregnant with Winter, who is like 4.5 now, so I've only had a proper coach for like 5.5, 6 years or something. And I had some good results, but I was finishing second and things like this. I was coming close. And then and then I contacted Martin, my coach still now, because I was going to go to the Lakeland 100 and I wanted to do well. And it coincided with the fact that I was going to be a dad. So I was going to be a dad. So it I just wanted it. I didn't need the accountability. What I needed is to take the decision making away from me. I didn't want to, because if it was up to me, I might make the easy decision, or I would just run for hours every day. Because at that point, I was still running just like 10 miles to my work and 10 miles back. There was no structure, but I was getting better, if that makes sense. But I knew enough to know that wasn't enough. And I just loved the learning side. Martin, who coaching me now, I could see that he coached people like Robbie Simpson, mountain runner and things like this. And I already thought, right, I'm pretty good at running a very long distance. How can I get a bit faster? And Martin was just, his knowledge in marathon running and things like that, that's what set him apart. So yes, there was a bit of accountability, but especially when Winter was born, it was like I could have quite easily just not ran, or I could have done an easy one and things like this. Having it just down on paper, I didn't even have to think about it. And I've always had a coach. I've always had a coach in business. I've got a coach in nutrition for a long time. Because I kind of wasted school, but it was just the wrong learning process for me. If someone's almost mentoring me, if I follow someone for quite a long time on social media, I'll end up sending them a message and saying, look, can I work with you, kind of thing. And I'd rather just pay them the money to teach me rather than go on endless courses and things like this. I just buy into people like that. I've still got a guy who helps me with mindset and business, Paul. It's like been with him 3, 4, 5 years, but my business wouldn't be what it is without him, kind of thing. And I always bang on about people needing a coach, and I'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I didn't have a coach. I always think that, to be honest. A coach who doesn't have a coach doesn't believe in coaching. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. And you've been a coach of a lot of people in various types of runners, not just like ultra runners, but you also coach
Mm.
your local area and row runners and all different types of distances. What's the hardest thing about being a coach? From especially ones where you're coaching from afar, you're not face to face. And what's the
Yeah.
best? And what's the best thing about it?
I think the hardest thing is sometimes getting past the fact that not everyone will be as disciplined as you, right? So, and what I mean is like, I'm very ill-disciplined in probably 90% of my life or outside of running. But when it comes to running, I've always been disciplined, and it keeps me disciplined in life. Yeah, like I spoke about a little bit. If running is kind of out the window, then yeah, I'm in danger of kind of going off track all over the place. So I like that discipline. I don't need motivation to go and run and things like this. And that's just me personally. So getting someone to do what they said they would do, that's the most difficult thing, but that is almost the most rewarding thing for me, because as a PT, even when I was hairdressing, like as a PT, running coach, face to face, straight away, it wasn't like you can have all the systems and methods in the world, but if this person doesn't buy into you, or you can't get into their head enough to understand why they're not doing it, doesn't matter, because you can have the best plan in the world in front of you, but if that person can't bring themselves to do it for whatever reason, you failed basically.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. When I was teaching at college, in between naval jobs, because of the variety of students we had, I had to learn different ways of teaching each individual. It wasn't just one way of doing it. It's to get into engage.
Yeah,
So if one of them was reacting or working better, if I treated him like I would an oppo, i.e., don't be a twat, get on with your work, and speak to him like he's used to being spoken to, he works better than if I'm like, oh, would you mind not do that? Not everyone
yeah.
reacts the same way, so it was always about learning and finding out what that individual required to
That's what
get
I
them.
was good at face to face in the gym. It was coaching for me is about asking the best questions of someone, and not leaving them with a get out. So if they can just say no or yeah or even yes, um, you've lost as a coach.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if I can ask you 5 questions that dig deeper into their issue, like their challenge, their obstacle, then I know I can help them, kind
yeah,
of thing. If I just tell them what to do constantly, it doesn't work.
yeah.
And like you said, it's about, I might be coaching a doctor, I might be coaching 100 different trades, yeah. And it's not that the doctor will, all doctors will behave a certain way, but again, a lot of it is just getting to know that person quite quick. I think I'm quite good at that. So you can throw me, same kind of thing as throw me in a party. It doesn't matter what the party is.
It's what
I'll
we
either make friends
it's what
or
we
like
say.
step
Yeah, it's what we say. Know your audience. There's no point
back.
in talking layman's terms to someone that can understand the in-depth side of
Yeah.
things. But there's no point in talking in depth if the guy or lass probably needs a bit more layman's terms so they can understand. It's know your
It's
audience.
like
It's as simple as that.
when you ask like what's the best thing, it's I remember kind of coaching people to run their first mile. So I learned all this technique stuff and movement
Yeah,
stuff and things like this, but I didn't get anything back from the people that I was coaching if they were, let's call them like quite serious club runners. Yeah.
yeah,
One, they didn't like to be told what to do by a 25-year-old or tell them that they've been running wrong for 15 years and things like that, which is fine. I get it. But on the other side of that, if I used the same principles and methods that I'd learned and then thought, right, who needs this most? So it was basically, it started off as women, but then the men come along as well. But it was over 30s that were kind of unfit, overweight, tired and stressed in their job. And I just used running as a way of teaching them how to run to give them their kind of self-confidence back and things like this. It was never about running a half marathon or anything like that. It was my running sessions. Once we had 3 sessions a week. One, we weren't even running. I would do movement and game-based stuff, because that takes the pressure off them. And then we would have group runs and things. But every group run, I was the last person at the back, and I was always the last person home, no matter what. And because everyone came through the same system, they'd all been there, whether they were the ones at the front now, they would always come and experience me at the back. And by then, I was lucky enough to win some races, and there was this ultra runner and things like this. But these people would come, and I would be at the back with them. And if it took walking for 45 minutes, we would walk. Instantly, that took the pressure off them, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas, and again, it's changed a little bit now for the better, but like the coaching at a club might be their beginner's night is just a shorter distance. And it doesn't work, because if the intermediates are doing 7 miles and the beginners are doing 3 miles, then it's the pace that matters. If you turn up at that first session and everyone just runs away from you, it's kind of soul destroying for a lot of people. I can't remember how many times I would have to turn up at the car park early to talk them out of the car. And that was my early kind of coaching kind of experiences, I guess. But I think I failed once to get one lady out of the car, and she never came back.
Oh, bless. I hope she's managed to sort herself out.
Yeah. I think, you can't win them all, kind of thing.
No, it takes a big leap.
When someone would still now, if I get someone through 100-miler and they send me a WhatsApp message and they're buzzing, I feel exactly the same as if they send me a message saying I've just ran my first mile, kind of thing, because I know what it means. I've seen it, and I've seen them kind of do it. Whereas a lot of online coaching now, they jump straight into online coaching off the back of like an athletics qualification, and they've never had any human contact. And I'm not saying it's always wrong, but unless you've been there or you've at least experienced them doing it, it's hard to empathise with a lot of people.
Yeah. So, like many of us, mate, moving on slightly, you've had a lot of your races cancelled or postponed recently. All for the right reasons and what have you. But how have you managed that in your training? And then what advice would you give to someone who's lost their focus in the training because their races have been cancelled, and they're like, what do I need to train for?
Yeah, I think like quite quickly what was happened. I mean, I didn't know how long it was going to happen, and there was the odd race the first race I think I got cancelled was because of a storm. When the storms were earlier in the year, that got cancelled. Then the obvious lockdown cancelled a lot. For me, it wasn't much of a problem because, again, I've touched on, I've had this coach that deals with mindset and things like this for a long time, and it was in business, not running. But I always have, it's about your motivation and things like this. So my motivations are always intrinsic rather than extrinsic. And put briefly, intrinsic is kind of, would you still be doing that training session when it's cold, wet, windy and things like this? Because your intrinsic reasons for running are things like you want to be a role model for the kids, or you want to feel confident, or you want to just look good in the mirror, these kind of things. The extrinsic things are more like, I want the medal, I want the t-shirt, I want the social media picture on Instagram. Yeah. And it's never black and white, because yes, obviously I want to have a nice picture on Instagram sometimes in the race. But if you're left with not knowing what your motivation is, and then you get the race taken away from you, you very quickly have to figure it out. Otherwise, you're just going to be left kind of flopping in the wind. So for example, when the races started getting cancelled, in my group, in the coaching group, I was just doing training on, right, what is the biggest challenge right now? Let's list the positives and negatives. And it's shifting people's kind of focus straight away. It's like, because you can do that immediately. Everyone was focusing on all the bad things. They don't know when the race is going to be. They've got no reason to train. Whereas actually they just needed to think a little bit deeper, I think. Because at some point we all started running, and it was for a reason, and nobody really, I don't know many people that start running to get a medal or to get a t-shirt. They don't even know about it. they start running because they might catch themselves in the shop window and they've got a belly. Yeah. Once they hit 30, they start running because their kids running in the park and they're fucking out of breath on their knees. Yeah. Or everything's hurting, or all these different reasons. But then they quickly forget those reasons when a race comes along and things like this. I always ask people, like in my groups, like, look, just think, if races were never happening, would you still be running? Yeah. And now I've turned people off from running a lot of the time. It's like, because if you hate, this is the other thing, if you hate running as well, there's other stuff out there.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Well,
So
this is what we mentioned this in the podcast the other day. If you're not enjoying it, you're doing something wrong, and it could be for the fact that you're doing the wrong sport. You need.
Yeah, and I did a coaching session with the group last week, and it was all about what is your biggest challenge right now, and I was coaching them in how to deal with it. And it's kind of, a lot of people focus. So a lot of these coaches, call them mindset coaches or whatever, they'll say, right, get your challenge, and then they will tell you to list like the positives of doing that challenge. Okay, and that's probably where it will finish. So the problem with that is, you need to go a little bit deeper. So for me, I ask people to go, right, now I want you to list 20 drawbacks of not going through with what you said you would do. Yeah. So all of a sudden, then you have to really dig deep and think about, right, what are the drawbacks of DNF in that race? What are the drawbacks of not getting fitter by X amount of time, whatever it is? Because unless you've got the drawbacks of failure in place and written down, and you've gone through that exercise, it can be quite difficult sometimes. Like everyone will have distractions all the time. Yeah, this whole situation has been a distraction.
Yeah,
I think it's a distraction to people's motivation. Yeah, like motivation and willpower, they're not a thing. They're infinite. That we've just made them up. So it's like, right, what will you still do what you said you would, in spite of having no motivation and willpower?
Yeah.
Without getting too far into it all. And it's not that I'm saying lots of people haven't got the right reasons to run. It's just sometimes they've forgotten about it. Yeah, a lot of people are comparing their PBs to others. A lot of them are comparing their Strava to others and what people are doing. It's like, you didn't start running because you wanted to beat Dickhead Dave in the club. You never knew Dickhead Dave when you started running. You just wanted to feel better about yourself, maybe. You wanted to lose a bit of weight, maybe. You wanted to run around with your kids for a long time. You wanted some people to be proud of you, and you wanted to get your confidence back. Once you start listing those things, for me personally, it's easy. Yeah. Because if I don't run, imagine if lockdown had happened and it's 3-4 months down the line, I haven't took a step. Now the sun's out and the restrictions are easing slightly, and I was just lying on the sofa like a sloth. I would feel 100 times worse than people felt just doing what they could. And I'm not saying everyone should have been running every day and smashing it and this, that, and the other. It's just like, right,
it's about having that structure, isn't it? That routine that you had hasn't changed when it comes to exercise and stuff like that. It's just that the other stuff around it, i.e. work, you may be furloughed, so you haven't got the work, but you still got the running, so you can still focus that in while changing your work to, I don't know, housework or stuff you couldn't do while you were working. It's that routine.
Yeah.
And you're right, if people started lounging on the sofa and binge watching TV, because it's easy to do because they haven't got any routine, that first step outside to go for a run is going to be like they're starting all over again.
It's difficult. It's only the same as, like, look, people have been injured for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks in the past, yeah, and they have the same reaction. The difference was this time is kind of, one, everyone was in the same boat, but yeah, everyone's focus was on just negativity. Thing, yeah, and you could have shifted that a lot. A lot of people could have shifted that way of thinking a lot sooner. One of the first trainings I did is, like, we were deep into lockdown, and there was a lot of like scary numbers being knocked about, and it was like, right, everyone needs to write down. You don't need to share it with me, but a lot of them did. Bear in mind, there's like 200 members in there. I want you all to write down 20 positives of your current situation. And this is the first week when everyone they were losing jobs, they had businesses closing down, things like this. Yeah, so there was high anxiety and stress in the group. But I came on and just said, look, I want you to write. You don't have to share it with me. Write 20 positives of your situation right now, no matter what. Some of them took 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and that was fine. But the point was, it was things like I get to spend more time with my kids. I get to, and it could have been small as anything. Get to paint the fence that I haven't done for 4 years. But it's just that shift.
You're shifting the mindset. You're shifting the thought from negative to positive.
Yeah. Where attention goes, energy flows. That's what I always get reminded by my coach, mindset wise.
Yeah,
and that's kind of it.
Well,
if you watch the news for 6 hours every day, what is your energy? What is your energy going to be like compared to if you didn't?
Exactly, and one of the reasons why a lot of my run streak was done first thing in the morning during the lockdown was because it gave me that positive start to the day. It didn't matter how crap the rest of the day was. I got that one positive thing, no matter.
And do you know what? That works exactly the same as if, like there's the whole kind of having a cold shower to start your day as well. So starting your day with some kind of, although you're seeing it like that, but for a lot of people would see your run streak first thing in the morning as discomfort. So there's a lot of papers and research that you start your day with a bit of discomfort, you will probably, the rest of your day will be a lot better. And that's the same thing with like the people that have the cold showers, things like that. That's not my thing. I'm too I'm too thin for a cold shower. But it's that whole, like you said, you've set yourself up.
Whether you see it as a discomfort into a better day or whether you see it as a positive start, you're setting yourself up. So no matter how bad or how good the rest of the day is, there's all, you can look back at it and go, well, it wasn't as bad as that, or I started off good. It was a good start to the day, and it just makes your mind a lot more relaxed, I think, as well. So if you're working from home, like I do, it just helps you sit down in a not office environment with a child trying to work, do his schoolwork, and your wife trying to do her work, and you've got that head to be able to, instead of getting
you, without knowing it, it's giving you that, like you said, it's giving you that constant.
Yeah, and it could have been so easy for people like myself that if I hadn't had that clear mind to start their working day with my wife there, which I'm not used to, and my son who should be in school, so I'm not used to, I'm not having any, I don't know, that stress, the work that would give me, releasing onto them. There's no bad, negative sort of stuff. Yes, I can talk to the wife about something shit that's happened at work or an email that's come through that's annoying me, but it's not the same where you've been at work all day and you've with the same people, and then you come home with the same people, and you then wanted to, beat negative things. I'm not saying beat up your wife. That's, but you know what I mean. You haven't got you've cleared your mind, so you're not all the built up frustrations already gone prior to you starting work. I think for a lot of people being stuck in the house.
You've got to remember, as runners, as a runner, if whoever calls himself a runner, we've been, and I think I keep hammering this home, everyone's been amazingly lucky since it all happened, because remember, we live in this runner's bubble kind of thing, but there's people that feel the same way as we do about running, about going to the gym, swimming, and all this thing. And overnight they had it, even if it's going to the pub, they had that taken away from them, and they couldn't do it.
The gym users are still not allowed.
We've never had that. Although there was everyone pissing around doing 100 miles in the back garden and everything, we've never been told that we can't go for a run. Yeah. No. So as runners, we've been
us and cyclists have been the lucky ones, for sure. There's no doubt about it. And I do feel for the gym users. I sort of understand.
Yeah, because people, you forget that people feel the same way we do about running as in other sports, whether it's CrossFit, whether it's gym, I don't care. Like I said, whether it's going for your McDonald's every morning. Some people are super passionate about that.
Yeah, but that's what I think that comes down to the mental well-being, the mental health, and it's something running for me, and it probably does for you. It makes you feel better, regardless. Even if you have that atrocious run where you've been out, I don't know, up like today where you're sweating your noo-noos off. I'm surprised you weren't in just your thong for a change. And it doesn't matter how bad that run was, it's still fucking good. And if we had that taken away from us, Jesus Christ, I think the world would have been bouncing off the walls in some form. We were.
I mean, it's one of those things. It's one of those things where your results are kind of directly correlated with the work that you put in over time as well. So for me, that was massive. It's not luck, and things like that. So for me, it's that compound theory of if I just do this every day, simple stuff. I do the simple stuff every day. That's when I feel best, kind of thing. A lot of it at the beginning was kind of, I would run myself to an exhaustion and people will kind of think of this for themselves, kind of that old saying of running away from something as well. That is true, because when I've ever had troubles, stress, struggling with other things, you run yourself to exhaustion, because then I'm just tired and nothing else really matters as well. So it's not all it's not always healthy. It's not all singing and rainbows. That you can go too far with it as well.
Definitely. Bring us on to
this out with the old.
We've gone. I love our tangents. But although it sort of wasn't. We're talking about obviously the lockdown. We're now moving out of the lockdown, as you know. You've unfortunately still got your 5 mile limit. Unlucky. When that 5 mile limit comes to an end,
I don't want the 5 mile diving lifted, mate.
Oh yeah, well you do have the word for yourself.
Come by me in a minute.
But when it does end, you've got the Paddy Buckley round that you plan on running, and that means you can travel. Finally, you can travel further than the end of your driveway. And for the listeners who don't know what the Paddy Buckley round is, can you explain it? And what is your expectations when you run
it? So yeah, like going back to what you said, although I might say I'm intrinsically motivated and blah, 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 you also have, like, goals are important. And like you said, when all the races were taken away, first I jumped into that Centurion 100-mile thing. And then the Paddy Buckley has always been something I wanted to do because it's close to me, it's North Wales based. It's one of the 3 big rounds. So there's the Paddy Buckley, the Charlie Ramsey and the Bob Graham round. English one being Bob Graham, Scotland one being Charlie Ramsey. The Paddy Buckley is around 100k and maybe 67 summits, so 47 summits, sorry, of Snowdonia. So the other 2 rounds you basically have to do within 24 hours, and there has to be a witness or 2 witnesses, I can't remember, for it to be official, whereas the Paddy Buckley doesn't have to have that. So, but most people will do it supported, a couple of people to witness and things like this. And the good thing about that is usually I would have races over the summer, so it's hard to just throw a Paddy Buckley in. But yeah, I was due to be in France this week for the Mont Blanc 90k. Then I was due to be out for UTMB week and things like this. So my summer was blocked up. When that's taken away from you, Paddy Buckley was just the obvious choice, to be honest. I've recently decided that I'm going to do it unsupported. And again, that's just because not many people do it unsupported. There's going to be a lot of supported ones. So I think I'm just going to, when it's appropriate, when you can go, I'm just going to go and do it.
What's your expectations for it? What do you reckon what are you hoping to do it in, and any sort of time in mind?
I'm not worried about the 24-hour time limit, to be honest, which you've got to have some confidence in yourself
You're not going for the
sometimes.
fastest known time either, then?
Well, the fastest known time, Damien's, is 17 hours something. If I got a chance, if I spoke with Damien, I think he'd admit that he can go faster. So I think someone will beat that this summer, because I know some people that are going for a fast time. I think that will go.
His is a winter time, wasn't it?
No, it was a summer thing still, and he would have been unsupported, but he had a guy, Michael, join him just for the last leg, so it can't be, so it's not unsupported. Yeah. So that's, don't get me wrong, it's very fast over that terrain. But if you get a good day, if you get good terrain in the summer, someone will probably take that. And so, and I don't know what I would do, but unsupported is just a completely different kettle of fish.
Yeah, it is.
You can't do checkpoints or anything. So
no
if anything,
paces.
No pacers, no nothing. So I'm just gonna go hope. I mean, that might all change, because the only problem I've got is I know quite a lot of people want to come and support and run with me. But then that, for me, that's why I do the ultra running, and I like the lapped ones, I like the canal ones, because I'm just on my own. I have Charlotte support me. I don't like the whole razzmatazz kind of support crew thing. I see it as pressure. I don't like worrying about them at the checkpoint, or if they're going to be there, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it won't be the quickest time I can do, but it's a different kind of challenge if you just set out to run 100k around Snowdonia on your own. So that's the appeal to it for me, I think.
It's a fair bit of climbing that as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't know the numbers, to be honest. But
maybe you don't want to know before you start it. So what's your greatest achievement in running? As a runner, more than a coach?
I think it's not the best performance, but the second equinox I did just meant a lot to me, because at the first equinox 24-hour I did, which was 10k loops, kind of cross-country track. It was only my second 24-hour, but I think I led it for about 18 hours. And it's not that I was planning to, but I led it for about 18 hours. In the last 90 minutes, I threw it away, right? And the story kind of goes is I had a bit of knee pain. I was coming down one of the hills, and I could feel my knee going. But at the same time, I knew that the guy in second, Mark, was catching up to me. And I essentially bottled it, I know now. Like, just gremlins got in my head, and I know enough about the psychology of things to know that I could have won that day. I didn't. I finished second, and then I went, but I said, oh, it was my knee, and I was super happy with second and all that kind of stuff. Then I went back the next year and won it that time. But I won it that time because of, like, mentally I was more prepared. There was a point in that race where I was sat in a Portaloo and things weren't going to plan. And I'd already decided that I was going to go in the Portaloo and then go back to my tent and quit. Yeah.
Was that 2015 when you went back and won it?
I don't know the year. Yeah, maybe 20. Maybe.
You won it in 2015 with 135 miles.
So I ran it in the first year I ran it, was the first year they did it, and I ran 20 laps, but finished second. The second year I went back and won it, and then I finished second and won it again. So won it twice and finished second twice.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good race, that one. I like Equinox. Johnny's a good lad. What is the worst race you've ever run? As in your worst performance race, not the race was your worst.
Yeah, I did probably. I don't know. I've had lots of bad performances, mate. It's a toss-up. The thing that it's got to be the worst is I had a place in the Grand Union Canal. So like 105 miles.
Yeah.
So before I had a place in that, I'd done Liverpool to Leeds, which is 130 something miles. Covered that distance in 23 hours 40 minutes. Still finished second, but to Paddy Robbins.
I know Pat Robbins very well, good mate of mine.
So obviously, I didn't mind losing to a legend of ultra running kind of thing, because it was just, I ran 23:40, and he obliterated that by that an
Yeah.
hour. But that was my first kind of big, like, I know I'm quite good at this, if you know what I mean. Still not
Yes,
the
yeah,
100
yeah.
miles plus that you probably need for GB and stuff, but it was along a canal, and yeah, anyway. So after that, I went to the Grand Union Canal race thinking, I'm gonna be competitive here. So now I've changed my kind of playing it down to I'm gonna be competitive in this race. But also I'd started studying nutrition and I thought I knew what I was doing, and I basically rocked up just thinking I was going to fuel myself on nuts and berries. And again, this is what the problem is with reading too many books and stories, is like, right, I can just fuel myself on this
Yeah.
bag of nuts
Yeah.
and this kind of thing. Yeah.
Chia seeds.
Yeah, and I was running in, say, the top 5 or something. I remember doing the first 30 odd miles, felt okay. Um, and then the first proper checkpoint, it was hammering down with rain, by the way. First proper checkpoint, I was running low on energy. I've not even ran a marathon in a 150-mile race, and I was running low on energy. Got to the checkpoint, and my support crew wasn't there. Charlotte wasn't there. It's like, fucking hell. So I just kept, because I was being competitive, rather than kind of trying to figure out where she was or ringing her, I just carried on running and then sorted it out. By the time we figured it out, they'd gone to the checkpoint postcode, which was just a car park. So she was probably about 20 meters away from me. But I carried on running. The next checkpoint was probably 10 miles away. By then, the sun had come out, and I was just, I mean, you can imagine, I ran 50 miles on some nuts. Went past like a little tuck shop is the best way to describe it. Bought 2 Mars bars and a can of Coke. Necked them within about a minute, and then all of a sudden I just went into basically
Sugar rush.
it's complete, basically a coma. It was in someone's back garden, throwing up, curled in a ball, white as a sheet. And yeah, that was it. I was in the car on my way home with my tail between my legs, and so I'd gone from hero to zero within a blink of an eye, and that was one of the main reasons that kicked on my thinking that can't happen again. I thought I knew what I was talking about with nutrition, and this was a long time ago now. And that was the next kind of couple of days, like, right, I need to get a handle on that, because what that guy was really talking about in that book was absolute bullshit.
But
this is where my love of keto comes in and things, because that's essentially what was happening.
We spoke about this in your podcast, wasn't it? And the guy that you read about, or the guy that you see on Facebook, might be doing something completely different to you because it suits them.
Yeah, but at the same time, mate, I don't, there's this. You don't say me often. If it works for you, is one of the worst overused phrases, biggest cop out. Coaches, physios, and things say. It's basically like saying, I haven't got the confidence to tell you you're doing something wrong. That's what I say it as these days. If there is parameters where you can say it, where yes, if it works for you, but if it's totally like, I'm not going to run my best 150 miles not having 1 gram of carbs. Yeah, it's just not. That's not science. Okay, so if there's an outlier that performs well on keto or whatever, that's fine. I'm not disputing that. But the problem is, for the masses, not everyone is different. No one's this bloody special butterfly. It's like the rules of kind of science remain the same for certain things. But yeah, anyway.
Well, that brings me on to my next bit. You're a man who will happily say how it is on social media and other forms. And one of the things that often rattles people's sort of cages a little bit is cross-training. You know, when you start talking about boxing and stuff like that, that's quite a good one. And I remember another coach making a video pretending to do it like you did. Do you remember that? He went absolutely nuts.
Oh, the Scottish guy, yeah.
Yeah, went absolutely nuts. Backfired on him a little bit. And probably got more hits on his page than he would have had in the first place.
Yeah.
However, when you do these, you know, these posts, when you talk about whether it's park race, park run, or whether altitude mask or gimp mask, all that sort of stuff, do you sit there, press the button, and go, "Where's my popcorn?" Sit back and think this should get a few people, or do you generally just do it, you know, without a care?
You know what? It's funny because that all started because my page was typical of just my page was content about the sessions and things like this, but it wasn't. But then I had a private little group for people I coached, and I did the first ever video. I put it in there, and everyone laughed and blah blah blah. And someone basically dared me to put it on my actual page, and so I did, and it obviously generated more kind of interaction than anything I ever did. But then that was just like, if you come to a session with me or whatever, I'm still the guy who's trying to.
Is that an invite? I would love to come to a session, mate.
Yeah,
I love
like
it.
a bloody failed comedian in these things, right? So it's still making people laugh is what I love doing. So I just talk about what I know, yeah. But there was also a lot of, remember, by the time I'd done my first video, I'd failed and made mistakes for 10 years. So like what I'm confident in, if whatever I put out, I will happily discuss it and back it up. Yeah. And I'm not scared to be wrong either, sometimes, which I've been, kind of thing. But at the same time, I really don't care what people think of what I put up, because I know that the messages that I get, the emails that I get, or whatever, there'll be someone that watches that video and it completely transforms their thinking in a good way. So everything is coming from a good place.
Yeah.
I'm not just attacking people. There's a lot in the industry now that people kind of attack a method, or they attack a person, or they take the mick, but don't give you an alternative kind of thing. So if you watch most of my videos, take cross training, it's like I attack the cross training part, but I'm saying it's in favor of strength work, yeah. And then people will say, "Wow, you've got to do this X, Y, and Z with the weights, whatever." It's like, for me, what I'm saying is cross training isn't that, yeah. So a lot of it is that's just my humor, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, it all came from a little, like the business group I was in. Most people have heard of like James Smith now, and we were in the same business school together. And he was the one who was like making little funny videos and things in the PT world. And funny enough, we started doing it at the same time. And he went to multi-million-pound because it's PT, and I just offend basically keto runners and things.
And other people, yeah.
The thing is, if you go in my coaching group, there's keto runners in my coaching group. Yeah. So a lot of people get that a lot of it is just for the laugh. Yeah. And if you don't, that's fine.
And the other thing, it does open your eyes to alternative things, you know. It gives that discussion.
And there's lots of people that are scared of putting info out there or videos out there because they're worried of what people might think, whereas I'm truly not. So whether 8 videos miss the mark, but one of them hits the mark with someone and they realize that they don't have to spend X, Y, and Z on something, or they can just relax and have a burger and chips after a run rather than worry about their recovery bloody methods and things like this. I'm happy with that. And I'm also, listen, I get plenty of messages calling me all sorts. So you've also got to have a bit of a thick skin if you're going to go out and do it as well.
Well, yeah, this is it. Right. So what we're going to do now, we're going to finish up with 10 quick fire questions, mate. All right.
How quick fire are these going to be?
Well, we'll see how well we go.
You've only asked about 3 questions in 2 hours.
Yeah. So what is your current go-to trail shoe and your road shoe? What is your current go-to road and trail shoe?
Good question. My favourite trail shoe of all time is the Salomon S-Lab Sense kind of thing, the soft ground one. So it is my go-to shoe, but it's also at the more expensive end. So so I don't wear it every day. So yeah, but that's my favourite ever shoe, to be honest. And the hard ground one, I've ran my 10k PB in it, and I've also ran 135 miles in it. So yeah, that's my favourite go-to shoe.
What about your road shoe?
I've got. Tell you what I like now, the Hoka Carbon X, which I never thought I would say. Well, not I never thought I would say. I've never had a Hoka before it. I got it for the fact that as a coach, I wanted to know about the the carbon. I wanted to know about Hocker brand, things like this, and I've just stuck with it. Yeah, so like my tempos runs and easy runs and things like that, I do in that.
It's a good shoe. I love it. I've got pairs of them.
Yeah, it's yeah. If I was being picky, they messed up a little bit with the weight. If it's going to be the competitive end, but for 90% of people, it's a brilliant shoe. Yeah.
Okay, second question. What's your favourite bit of kit you always take to a race?
I guess can I say a buff? I know that's boring.
No,
because I hate the wind in my ears, but I hate the sweat on my head. So whether I've got wind in my ears, I'll have the buff on. Whether it's hot day, I'll have it on my wrist to get rid of the sweat. Whether it's chucking it in the river and then using it as a face towel, I will. That's my
or now as a face mask. Now, you know, it covers everything. I'm the same. Okay, favorite snack on a long run stroke race?
Parmesan
nice.
cheese, because like you know me and I will hammer the carbs till the cows come home because I know I need to, but the Parmesan kind of satisfies everything else.
Okay. Have you ever drunk Guinness during a race?
Not during a race, no.
That's my advice to you, mate. You want to try it?
I'm banned from drinking Guinness. Last time I drank Guinness, I woke up naked and the carpet had been taken up. So in the spare room.
Yes, but I recommend drinking it during a race. Okay, leggings or leggings with shorts over the top?
No, fucking don't get me started on this. Why? Listen.
Quick leggings or leggings with shorts over the top? Come on.
Yeah, you've either got a big enough cock so that it doesn't matter, or what else are you worried about? The leggings thing, I don't get. If you're going to wear leggings, don't wear the shorts. Okay.
Thank you.
There's very rare instance that I would wear the leggings anyway.
If it's my personal view on it, if it's that cold to wear leggings, your cock's not going to be big enough to see anyway.
No, I mean, just look at CrossFit, right, and ask yourself, do I want to look like that? Yeah, they're in shape and they make them look daft. So no.
Okay, so we'll go with leggings without shorts on that one.
We'll go with the leggings. Let's.
Okay, 24-hour race. 24-hour race or point to point?
What do you mean? Oh, as in
you. Which do you prefer? 24-hour race or point to point?
Point to point. Yeah.
Okay. Uphill running or downhill running?
Downhill running. Yeah. Ever since I broke my elbows, I spent a long time getting good at downhill running to the point where I realised that's my main skill now. Downhill running. Yeah.
People don't practice it enough.
No, and it does come down to practice. Yeah, it's like practicing it properly.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite song to rant to currently?
Oh, currently, I don't know. Anything by Fisher, I guess, at the moment. Yeah. Yeah. It changes, mate. You know my music kind of take, but yeah, but good bit of techno.
Ultimate race for you to race in? What would be the ultimate race?
Hard rock, I think. Hard rock 100.
Nice. Yeah. Kiss that stone at the end. And finally, would you ever race in a jungle or desert given the opportunity?
Yeah, I think I prefer to race in the jungle, to be honest. I've ran in Egypt before, and it's featureless, isn't it? It's tough, I guess. But I don't like going to the beach, if I'm honest. I'd rather, when there's an option of a pool or a beach, why would you go to a beach? Get sand.
With your guns, mate, I thought you'd be down the beach all the time.
Yeah. So whereas the jungle, it's scary, isn't it? You don't know what's going to be in the jungle. So for me, I would. If someone was going to offer me the choice, I'd go to the jungle.
I mean, you can tell the jungle's dangerous when an ant can fucking kill you. An ant.
Yeah. What's that thing? Listening to kind of the SAS guys, and they always say like when you're in the jungle, everything wants to kill you, even the trees, kind of thing. Yeah, I'm sure it's pretty safe where they organise these races, but yeah, jungle for me.
You never know. So
But listen to a bit of jungle music, can't you?
let's spread your social media and coaching outlets. So if people want to follow you, join your coaching programs and stuff like that, how can they get in touch and stuff?
Yeah, just grab me on Instagram, I guess, at Gary House _ I think it is at the minute. Yeah, if you enjoy kind of the videos that I put out, the best way to learn more about the coaching is there's like a free coaching email list on my website. Just go to the www.therunstrongclub.com. Free emails. I will warn you now, I email people, I email everyone most days, but it's basically my goal is to make you laugh or learn every day. So hopefully there's good content in there, but yes, that's the only way you can sign up as well. Yeah.
Excellent. That brings us to the end of the podcast, my friend. I think that was that.
Cheers, mate.
Not as long as our one. It's not quite 2 hours, but one far off it.
All right.
It's an hour and a quarter. Oh, lucky. I'll leave you to that one.
Yeah.
Mate, it's been great catching up. I'll pause this and then we'll have a quick chat afterwards when we finish. But it's been absolutely fantastic.
I've got to go, mate. That's it.
Yeah, no worries. Cheers for coming on the podcast, mate.
Cheers, mate.
And that was my podcast with Gary House. I hope you enjoyed the latest podcast. It was really good to catch up with Gary. I love how the conversations just flow. That's part of the fun of it. But I recommend, if you don't already, follow him on Instagram at least and see what he's all about. His advice a lot of the time is pretty much spot on. And the rest of his stuff is just pure funny. So, if you liked what you've heard here, please download the episodes, subscribe, all this sort of stuff. Click on the subscribe button on YouTube, click on my likes, all that sort of stuff. All right. Look forward to the next episode of If My Feet Could Talk.